What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Panthers Advice. Man, we got a lot to talk about today. Let's get into it. First thing to talk about is Bryce Young is going to start this weekend in Germany against the Giants with Brian Burns, neighbors, and against the team that leads the NFL in sacks. So this is going to be interesting to see, for one, Canales' game plan because, Canales is a run-first coach, and against that Giants front seven, that's going to be hard to run the ball when the tight ends are struggling to block as it is. You saw last week against the Saints, they struggled there too, and really they struggled the last week that Andy played as well. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of Canal's game plan and what he plans to do against the Giants. Now, let's talk about what Canales said about Bryce Young last week. He called it a solid day, throwing for 171 yards and a touchdown against the Saints. Should have actually probably had two, but a couple of crazy plays happened. Led a game-winning touchdown drive, and I liked how Young made some good reads in the second half, and Dave allowed him to kind of go vertical with the offense. It showed that Dave is either getting some trust in Bryce Young or, he just said, screw it, let's go deep. And what is going on, everybody? I see you guys in the comments. Case, Gabe, Malachi. We got score predictions. We'll get to that in a second. Glad Dan Morgan was straight up, said he wasn't ever considering trading Bryce. I'm good with Bryce starting this week. I need to know if this guy can be Rich Gannon because I'm already certain he isn't Steve Young. Yeah, Ryan, the main thing is with this is you don't want to keep drafting quarterbacks year after year hoping to get your Patrick Mahomes, kind of Joe Burrow-esque, Josh Allen. If we can get a guy who can get us wins, right, and can stretch the field, if we can build around that, then we're good to go. At some point it would be nice to have a franchise quarterback, but until we're ready for that, we have so many holes on the defensive side. And unless we somehow win out, it's hard for me to think that Avero's going to keep his job, right? I don't see him coming back. So now the new defensive coordinator is going to want to add who knows how many other pieces, right? So, you have your kind of main guys in Derek Brown, Horn, probably Mike Jackson, but everybody else, maybe Trevin Wallace too, but everybody else is most likely on the block, to be honest with you. DJ Johnson, yikes. Barno hasn't played all season. I think he might still be on IR or, just injured in general. So edge rushers are going to be priority for whoever the next defensive coordinator is, to be honest. They did release some news about, let's see, Jonathan Brooks right here. He is activated, feels ready to go in Germany. Let's see what they say. The Panthers activated the second-round rookie from the reserve non-football injury list Wednesday. He's practiced for a few weeks now. Let's see. Should get his first carry this week in Germany. They also activated the rookie Jaden Crumdy as well. It says they weren't sure how Dave Canales was going to use Jonathan Brooks or how much of a role he would have. My guess is probably a screenplay. I hate to say it, but it's probably a screenplay. Brooks said, I feel like whatever's thrown at me, I'm going to handle it, whether that's a good amount of plays, whether it's not as many. I'm going to give my best effort on each play and just try to be a good teammate and help the team I can. So kind of your standard answer there, which is what I get from a rookie who hasn't played in the first, 9 weeks. Hubbard commented on Brooks, said JB is, I think I said it time and time again, a special talent, also a great guy. Me and him have created a great friendship, and I'm looking forward to getting on the field. He's looking really good so far. Brooks and Hubbard, that's actually a pretty good 1-2 punch, to be honest with you. I think those two combined, I think we're set at running back, and I think Blackshear's a perfect kind of third string running back, even though I would like to see Blackshear get some reps of some sort. But Brooks and Hubbard, if that's our future with Bryce Young, if Bryce Young can kind of keep slowly progressing, I'm not mad at it. You've seen what XL can do. You've seen what Coker can do. You've seen what Sanders can do. Offensively, we're set. And I said this last week. The only thing we're missing, I think, on offense, as far as, the weapons, we need a slot receiver. We need somebody who can really stretch the field. We don't have that. And I talked about that on my last video breaking down Bryce Young. We have more in the slot, and that's really it. Yes, we'll get Adam Thielen back, but Adam Thielen's going to be 35 next year. If we can draft a guy this year let him learn under Adam Thielen. Woo! Offense. The offense will be set and they will be young and will finally have a foundation, to be honest. Ryan said, thoughts on Chuba and Brooks being the new D. Will and J. Stu? That's what I'm hoping to see, honestly. That's exactly what I'm hoping to see. And I think, honestly, Brooks is a mix of D. Will and J. Stu. There's not a lot of running backs who are kind of like D. Will anymore. I mean, maybe even Gibbs is more physical than D. Will was. There's not a lot of elusive backs like D. Will, right? Kind of small speed elusiveness. I think Brooks is a nice mixture of the two. J. Stu, my boy from Oregon. I think Chuba is kind of the closest thing to that we've seen. So I would love to see that. And I think we have that, but it won't work if we can't get the passing game going. And, Dave has to take shots deep to back the safeties up, back the linebackers up, right? Otherwise, if we don't, they're going to stack the box. So, I mean, when you got a guy like Sanders who can run a crosser over the middle and the linebackers aren't deep enough back, Sanders is going to be open every single time. Case said, how much reps do you think Brooks will get? This is a good question because let me see because I don't think Chuba's got a lot the last couple of weeks, to be honest. It's a good question. Let's see. All right. It's just right here, the Saints. So against the Saints, he got 15. Against the Broncos, the week before that, he got 15. The week before that, he got 17. This one's tough. I'd say, probably 4 to 6. That's my guess, to be honest with you. About 4 to 6 carries, maybe. It's a good question. Let's see if I can pull up the total for all rushing attempts. Now, Chuba has got a lot of the backfield too. But rushing attempts against the Saints, Miles had 2, Chuba had 15. All right. And then the week before that, against the Broncos, a semi-close game, it was Chuba had 15, Miles had 1. Damn, Miles is getting no burn. Damn. But Miles had 7 catches. So what I'm thinking is Miles with those catches is really what Brooks is going to take over, to be honest with you. Sanders needs to start. Yeah, the only thing with Sanders is he's not a physical guy when it comes to run blocking. So they've got to figure out, kind of how to counter that. Sanders is a hell of a player, but run blocking, it's not his specialty. That's the only thing that's stopping him, James. That's the only thing that's stopping him from starting more reps than he already is. Now, he could get better at run blocking. He is only a rookie. That's really his only weakness. Bryce Young needs to take the bull by the horns and keep his job and beat the Giants. Yeah, Bryce Young, he's just got to be aggressive. He's got to be aggressive, and I think Dave Canales is just going to let Bryce do his thing. At least I hope so, anyway. I'm impressed with this year's draft class. Every pick from 1 to 4 are not only starters, but are contributing significantly. Yeah, that's the thing I talked about. Let me pull up the draft class just so I can go over that real quick. That's a big thing. I talked about this last week too. Is I'm not mad at the Panthers getting more and more picks, just because they seem to know what they're doing for the most part. First round was XL athlete. Second round, Brooks athlete. Third round, Trevin Wallace. He's an athlete. Fourth round, Sanders. He's an athlete. Right. So they're drafting. They're just drafting athletes. When it's all said and done, Trevin Wallace, he's not your standard linebacker. Sanders isn't kind of your standard tight end. They are athletes, which you see the way they progress. XL, he's an athlete. He has a lot of room to develop a very raw receiver. But when you're watching him, you're like, oh, this dude doesn't have a ceiling, right? And when we keep getting more and more draft picks, even if we move up a few, you can use those to trade up and get something a little bit higher up when it's all said and done. So yeah, Ryan, very impressed so far too. They've shown me what they're going to try and build this team around, and that's athletes. And I definitely like the sound of that. Let's see what else we got today to talk about. Mingo to the Dallas Cowboys. I never saw this coming, to be honest. For one, a 4th round pick. I think Hopkins. I think Hopkins went for a 4th round pick to the Chiefs. And what? Deontay Johnson went for a 5th round. Mingo for a 4th to the Cowboys is just crazy. Do you think we will see more targets for Coker? Case, yes and no. Because teams are eventually going to start to pick up on that, which is why I go back to we need a slot receiver, right? Because eventually teams have an idea of what Leggette's going to run. It's going to be usually a crosser or a go route. We haven't seen him run a lot of hitches or out routes for the most part. It's usually a crosser or go or like a post, right? So you have a way to play XL. So the DB kind of has an idea of how to play him. But then there's Coker, right? And Coker's your route guy. Coker can run the route tree. So teams might really bracket him as far as the DB gives him inside release, the linebacker picks him up, or the DB plays him towards the sideline, the safety picks him up over the top. Teams might double him, which means now we're down to our slot guy, and that's David Moore. David's not bad, but I feel like we just need somebody with a little bit more speed. So, well, the question was, will Coker get more targets? I think he will, but I also think David Moore is going to see a lot more targets just based on the opponents kind of seeing how the Panthers are starting to play things. And if that's the case, and that should open up the run game. You know, the Giants have a solid defense. The offense just, it's not great, to be honest with you. But back to Mingo real quick. The Panthers traded second-year receiver Mingo in the 2025 7th-round pick. Oh, so next year. Okay, yeah. 2025 7th-round pick. In return, the Panthers will receive the Cowboys' 4th-round pick. Woo! And they got, what, Dak on IR too? That could be a pretty good 4th-round pick, to be honest. Mingo was drafted number 39 overall, appeared in 24 games, 55 receptions on 111 targets for 500 yards. 500 yards isn't bad per se, but 55 catches on 111 targets, that's rough. You know, even with Andy Dalton coming in, he struggled. You know, he just, I don't know what it is. He has potential. You know, his deep route running is insane. But the fact Andy Dalton couldn't connect with them either shows you part of it may be on Mingo when it's all said and done. It's about time we fleece someone after being fleeced the last 2 years. Yeah, I don't understand why the Cowboys would do this, to be honest. A 4th-round pick? And it's not even just like a 4th-round pick because the Cowboys are also placing Dak Prescott on IR, right? And they've got other injuries, I think, too. So that 4th-round pick is going to be a pretty good 4th-round pick when it's all said and done. I can't believe the Cowboys, out of all people, they're the ones who got Mingo. You know, I that's crazy. We still have our 4th. You get the Cowboys 4th. Have our 5th, the Giants 5th too. Oh, the Giants 5th too? Damn. Not bad then. We had the Rams 2nd round. The Rams picked it up though lately. So just so you guys know, as of right now, according to Panthers.com, our 2025 picks are we have our 1st round, the Rams 2nd round, we have our 3rd round, 4th round, Cowboys 4th round, our 5th, Giants 5th, and Ravens 5th. So that 5th round is going to be interesting. The 4th and 5th round. So we have what, 5 picks in the 5th? 5 picks between the 4th and the 5th round. That right there is going to be interesting to see what we do. I know there's going to be edge rushers coming off the board for us anyway, and probably you would think safeties. So my guess is for anybody saying we need defensive backs, which I agree we do, wait till about the 4th or 5th round, and that's what we're going to go heavy, I think. Just when you're depressed about having Tepper, just remember Dallas has, and I said early last year or this year that Tepper was basically a junior Jerry. But I don't know. Maybe we're seeing some potential. Maybe Tepper's, kind of figuring things out. We'll see. Let's see what else we got. Injury report. Let's see what else we got on the injury. 9 players were held out of practice Wednesday. Jadeveon, Ashawn, Chuba, Josie, Xavier Woods, and JC Horn. Just rest days, I guess. It looks like Adam Thielen's still bothering about that hamstring. Deshaun Williams and Iku, that ankle. Now, that's going to be interesting. Does Iku start against the Giants? They took him out. They put Christensen? Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But should Iku start? I don't know. I like Iku. I like the guys. If you guys haven't noticed yet, I like Bryce Young. I like the guys who have to prove themselves. And Icky, he struggled. And I was like, all right, come on, Icky. You got to figure it out, whatever. But it feels like the last few weeks, Icky has struggled way more than usual. And I don't get why. Chuck said, what do you think of Trevin Wall so far? I think some people have to temper their expectations with him only because whether you want to admit it or not, Trevin Walsh was a reach. Some people will disagree with me, right? It is what it is. But Trevin Walsh was a reach, but that's who Dan wanted, right? Trevin Walsh was supposed to learn from Shaq and Josie Jewell kind of how to play the linebacker position in the NFL. And in that 3-4 defense, right? And next thing you know, Shaq's out for the season. Josie Jewell gets hurt. Here comes Trevin Wallace in, week 3, week 4-ish? And he's having to learn. He's having to learn on the go. He's not learning from anybody. I mean, there's film room, but that's so much different when you're in the game. So, there's positives and negatives. Yeah, you're seeing kind of the weakness about him right now, but it's only going to make him better long term, right? You're seeing potential from Trevin Wallace. So what do I see right now are my thoughts. He's doing what I expected. I'm not expecting anything crazy from him. Like I said before, the Panthers took XL, Brooks, him, and I'm drawing a blank on the fourth guy. Let me see. Sanders, right? Jatavion Sanders. All 4 of those guys are athletes, right? So that's my thoughts on that. Trevin's only going to get better, right? They're athletes. Jatavion Sanders, XL, Brooks, they're all athletes. And that's what the Panthers like to draft. Ryan said, my hope is Bryce shows enough improvement to stay another year. That way it frees up a first draft pick for the best edge in the draft. I don't know if you saw the last video, Ryan, but I finally saw where Bryce Young started climbing up in the pocket. And yes, been a big Bryce Young supporter. Jeez. Been a big Bryce Young supporter, but the one thing I never saw him do last year was climb into the pocket. I would watch CJ Stroud consistently climb into the pocket. And Bryce Young never did that because we always talked about it, right? If he's in the spread, he gets the ball. He'll throw it like this. He won't open up his hips. He'll throw it closed hips. The ball will be weak every single time. But last week, we finally saw it open up the hips, climbs, bang. We might have saw that maybe 5 times or less last year. Maybe. But this year, you actually saw him stay in the base, climb into the pocket. Everything looked good. To me, I think we're starting to get somewhere. As for drafting the best edge rusher, it's going to depend on who takes over the defensive coordinator position. I highly doubt Avero's going to stay. Not only because of how the defense looks, which is kind of on him, but kind of not because of injuries. I don't know that he wants to be here another year. I think he wants to kind of clean off his plate right and go try somewhere else. Let's see. Marcus said 24-13 Carolina Burns. 2 sacks. 24-13. If we were to win, I could imagine a score like that if we were to win. If we don't win, you would have to think a blowout, right? If we don't win. I mean, they did play their Broncos pretty close, but it comes down to Malik Neighbors. Neighbors is a dog, right? Neighbors is nasty. So probably going to double team him. We'll see kind of how the Panthers play that. But yeah, Marcus, if we win, I would imagine a score similar to that, 27-14. I think would be my prediction. I don't know. Trevin's a dog. Yeah, Trevin, he's an athlete. And hopefully next year we can get somebody, to play next to him. Unless we go to a 4-3, which will be even more interesting, but that's going to put a lot more pressure on Trevin. So we'll see what happens there. Marcus, what's going on, my guy? Wallace plays all over the field. I like him. Yeah, I think there was a play Dave mentioned a couple weeks ago where the receiver running back was about to score, and Trevin came out of nowhere and tackled him just like he did in the preseason. Trevin, he gives you 110% every single time. Wallace is a dog. He doesn't get the sacks, but when he blitzes, he disrupts the backfield. Yeah, he's quick too. He's he's almost like your rover kind of, kind of like your safety linebacker kind of build, a bit bigger. That's who Trevin Wallace reminds me of a lot. The only problem I have with the Giants game is we have made subpar quarterbacks look like superstars. Every quarterback has had an eternity to throw the ball. I should have done a video on this. I've just been kind of out of it lately, but last week we actually got pressure. We actually drew up some pressure last week. Now, it was against the Saints, and they did have Olave after the first quarter. No Rashid Shaheed. So you got to take that with what you will. But I did see us drawing up some pressure. The problem is if you look at the game, right? And I hate tearing players down, but if you look at the game, you got Charles Harris on one side, you got Clowney on the other side. They're not doing anything. Like they're just, to me, they're just a bit older and they're a bit slow and they're not as hungry, right? If I'm gonna keep it a buck, and the reason I say they're not as hungry is because the Panthers are 2-7. They're a bit older. They don't want to waste their energy, and I get it, right? As an NFL player, when you're getting up there in age, you don't have a lot of time left. So I feel like if we are winning, we may see a different Clowney and we may see different Charles on the other side, but we're not. Clowney, he did better last week, and you saw he did better because we were winning. It is what it is. So if we start winning against the Giants, maybe we'll see Clowney come alive. But if we don't, I can't guarantee you that we're going to get some pressure. What do you think Bryce stats? I don't know. Ooh, Case, it's a good question. I go back and forth because I forget who it was last week, but they're like, you got to realize how good the Giants front seven is. His stat line, let's see. Panthers, Saints, how do you look? How did Bryce look last week? Let's take a look real quick. Last week, Bryce did 16 for 26, 171, one touchdown. Let's go 225, two touchdowns. I'm going to say 225, two touchdowns, one pick. I'm pretty confident in that. I would bet on that. Bryce Young, 225, two touchdowns, one pick. That's my guess. Let me know what your guess is, Case. I know, Ryan, I know you have a prediction. I know you have a prediction. All right. Have we missed anything so far? Jamie Robinson, limited. Lonnie Johnson, limited. Let me see who's on the depth chart. It's been a while since I've looked at this. Let's see. Who's on the depth chart right now? So, receivers, we got XL and Coker. All right. We knew that. And you got David Moore. That's what I'm saying. We don't have anybody else, which is crazy to me. All right, depth chart looks pretty much the same. Nothing crazy. Ryan says 175 yards, one touchdowns, 3 sacks. Burns. I'm not mad at that prediction. I'm not mad. I think, Dave is going to try and run heavy on this ball. But I think Bryce Young, he might go deep. And if Brooks can be the guy that Dave says he is, that's going to force the linebackers to come up. And if that happens, Sanders is going to have a big, big day. I don't know how many of you guys play fantasy, but I've already picked up Jatavion Sanders in all 3 of my leagues because I've only seen him start to slowly get more and more involved in these plays. Obviously, early on, he was a rookie. He struggled. I went over that in the videos. But, man, he is figuring things out. And now it's like everything is starting to come together for him. So if you play fantasy, I guarantee you Jatavion Sanders, Yahoo, ESPN, CBS, whatever you do, I guarantee you he's still available. Go check him out if you guys can. Let's see. Dan Morgan describes wide receiver trades as part of his building plan. Yeah, I think Dan Morgan's got to be frustrated with the defense and how they're looking, because you go back to the teams that Dan Morgan was on, back in the 2000s with the Panthers, and then he takes over as GM, and then he's watching this unfold. Dan Morgan's not happy. The whole offseason, he wanted DAWGS. He wanted dogs, right? And what have we seen so far? So Dan is not happy. So for them to trade Mingo for a fifth tells me, or no, for a fourth, still can't believe that. That tells me that Dan, he's going to use that to build the defense. So I'm excited that we're actually moving guys. We're winning in trades. Give me a sec real quick. That tells me we're doing something right. Let's see what else we got. Moten knows Burns very. Oh, Taylor Moten. Yeah, Taylor. He's had his on and off games, so we'll see how we can do against Burns. What else we got? Canales didn't say Bryce or Dalton. Yeah, he did. Khalil today press conference. He came out and said Bryce Young was starting, and then what's his face? David Newton from ESPN's like, well, I thought you said last week or whenever it was. He's like, I thought you said a few weeks ago that Andy Dalton gave you the best chance to win. Why are you starting Bryce? So go check it out, Khalil. They just posted it like probably a few hours ago now. So go check that out. I picked up Sanders too. Yeah, you got to be. You got to. Case said 210 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, and a pick. Yeah, I didn't think about the rushing touchdown. I could see that potentially against the Giants. It's gonna be hard though against that front seven. I've been scooping Coker for cheap for the last 2 weeks on DraftKings. He's delivered for his cost. Yeah. Coker has been that guy too. Coker is quickly becoming the fan favorite. Bryce Young will be traded in the offseason next year. Well, I mean, Khalil, what are we basing this off of, though, my guy? Are you just for picks, for players? What are we talking about here? I don't know about the interception. Bryce doesn't take too many chances to throw a pick. I can see that. The only thing I would say is Bryce Young does like to throw it deep when he's given the opportunity. Will Dave allow it? That's a whole nother discussion. What do you think Brooks going to do? And what up with Thielen? Brooks, I don't think we're going to see like a dive or an ISO kind of play. I think we're going to see Brooks out in the space. So it could be a stretch, a toss, but my guess for Brooks' first play would be a screen or just kind of like a swing pass out there, right? Maybe a wheel route, maybe a mesh concept. Maybe a mesh concept. So you got what? JT going under, Moore going over the top. Then you got Brooks going all the way around. That'd be my guess, Marcus. I think it's going to be like some type of swing route or a screen. Tell me the last game. He hasn't thrown a pick. He's been taking one-on-one shots. I'll let you guys handle that out. So, as far as everything else, man, I mean, how confident are we in the Panthers moving forward? I don't think trading Bryce Young is going to do anything, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because I think if teams wanted Bryce Young, they would have given something by now to Dave and Dan and Brandt and Tepper, I guess. And I think teams anticipate the Panthers releasing him at some point. And then it's just like, okay, whoever gets Bryce, right? So I don't think teams are going to trade away their draft picks, their players to get Bryce Young. And the Panthers aren't going to take anything that's not reasonable, as you saw with Mingo. So we should have never traded Burns. He was our best pass rusher. That whole Burns thing was just a mess. Then you would have had to pay him, and then do you get to bring in Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, Khalil? Like, that's the thing. Like, the offensive line looks 10 times better this year than it did last year. 10 times better. But if you sign Brian Burns, do you get to sign those two guys for the offensive line? I don't think you do. Do I wish they could have worked out a contract with Burns? Absolutely. I just don't think you get those two guys if you don't. Dark said Bryce here to stay for at least 2 more seasons. Yeah, I think he has to finish out his contract. So I agree with you there, Dark. Appreciate you, Chuck. Let's see what else we got. I think Burns just wanted too much money. He had some injuries, and he had dealt with for a couple years, like his wrist. He wanted some money, and then just the front office. I mean, it hadn't been good. This was the same front office. While I like Bryce Young, this was the same front office who traded the number 1 receiver, right, to get your franchise quarterback. How much sense does that make? I don't even remember who the second string receiver would have been last year. What, DJ? LaVisca? They drafted Mingo. So you trade your number 1 receiver, bring in a franchise quarterback, and you're going to have what? DJ Chark or LaVisca Chenault? be the second string, or I guess the first string, or I don't know. I really don't know what their plan was. Let's see what else we got. Case, I think we get a rushing touchdown screaming out of the pocket because of the pressure. The Giants will play in the red zone. Maybe a nice little rollout. Maybe a nice little play action play. I do want to see something. Let me see something real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know about Burns, but we should have signed Luvu and Chen. I mean, that's a whole other discussion because if Arrow stopped playing Chen week 5, week 6, and then conveniently Chen was injured like every week, it felt like. I never understood how Avero never found a place for Chen. Chen was an athlete, man. I mean, the dude was an athlete. And yet somehow he never got any playing time. Go figure that one. Bryce Young struggles. Again, he's got all right. So Khalil, obviously not a Bryce Young fan. I got you. Bryce is a very good runner. I can see him dumping out to Chuba at the 10-yard line. Now, it's an interesting point. This is where I could see Brooks coming into the red zone at, because Miles has, and I feel bad for Miles, but Miles has had time and time again to prove himself as a receiving back, and he just, I'll check the stats, but Miles just hasn't been able to do it. He just has not wowed me at all, and I like Miles Sanders, but man, I feel like Dave is giving him a ton of opportunities. Let's see, receiving this year. How many catches we got? It is not telling me. Reception. So he's got 21 catches, 98 yards, 0 touchdowns. Longest was 27. I mean, I'm not that impressed. 3 first downs on the 21 catches. 21 catches, only 98 yards. It's not great. He's averaging 4 yards a catch. Miles, man, I thought he would be able to produce more, right? Dave is doing Dave is playing to Miles' strengths, getting him the ball in open space, and for whatever reason, Miles can't capitalize on that. You don't feel bad? No, I do, because I feel bad for Miles because Dave is trying to use him to his strengths, which a lot of coaches and a lot of coordinators don't do, right? They expect you to adapt to their kind of system. Dave is trying to put Miles in a position, right? Because Miles only had three rushes the last 2 weeks, but he's had a ton of receptions and he still can't get it to click. If we trade Bryce, they're not going to get anything close. Yeah, exactly. Marcus, nail on the head. Because they know the Panthers don't want him. They know the Panthers don't want him. Miles Sanders, he's not that guy. Nah, he's not. I was just hoping to see him try to succeed. I mean, it only helps out the team if he succeeds, But unfortunately, he just I don't know. Maybe he has to go back to Philly. But I don't know how he's going to do that with Saquon. Saquon's something else. That dude is something. The Giants, man. The Giants are something else for letting him walk. That boy Saquon, man. Miles Sanders on his way out this offseason before then. Now, yeah, Miles Sanders is definitely out. I mean, there's not much else Dave can do. He's got 36 carries, 130 yards. He's averaging 3.7. His second lowest on average of his career, 1 touchdown. He's just not doing enough. I don't know that Raheem couldn't match those numbers, if not do better, to be honest with you. Marcus, we don't use Sanders right. I've said that, right, Marcus? I've said that. But I don't know that we have. So if we go to a spread offense, more of like a kind of zone rate offense, I don't know that we have the line to run that either, though, Marcus. So I don't know, even if we were to use him right, that we have the personnel to run the offense for Sanders to succeed. And unfortunately, Sanders is what? How old is he now? He's 27. He's getting up there in running back age. Been in the league for what? 6 years now? 6 years now. Next year will be 7. We can't really build an offense around him, But I agree with you. We're not using him right. He has to go to an offense that's going to kind of fit that zone read type of offense. San Francisco may not be a bad offense for Miles Sanders, to be honest with you. Miles ain't doing no reverse. Nah, there's not a lot of guys who are doing over that. Man, I saw that. I said, oh, Lord. Thank God he's on the Giants anymore, because the Panthers would be the one defense he could do that to again. So I'm glad he's not on the Giants this week. Saquon on the Derrick. Yeah, Saquon and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry to the Ravens. They're starting to figure out that offense too. And Deontay Johnson, we'll see if he makes an impact. Well, I still don't understand that move. You know, you signed Derrick Henry, and then what, 2 weeks ago, the Ravens, they weren't even using him really. It was like, and they lost. And so then they go back to Derrick Henry and they signed Deontay Johnson. I'm like, all right, this doesn't make any sense. But yep, Dark. Agreed. Chuck said Sanders was never good. He had less rushing yards in career than running. Remember, Chuck, everything's about a system. Bryce Young was never going to be good under Frank Reich. You know, we talk about this all the time. Certain quarterbacks succeed, you know, with different coaches. The same thing with Randy Moss. There was a couple teams where Randy Moss played for that he didn't. He's like, no, I'm not running across the middle. Not going to happen. That's not my game. There's a lot of guys who are like that. Saquon is one that shows you, okay, with the right system, right personnel, you know, it's the same thing. Hot take incoming. I like Barkley, I do, but he's on a great offense. Chuba's on an offense where he has to struggle on 5 for every yard. I'll take Chuba. Not right. Ryan, did you see what Barkley did in the open field? I like Chuba too, and I'll take him. But did you see what Barkley did in the open field? Barkley is one of them ones. He's one of them ones. I like Chuba, but Barkley, he's one of them ones. Assuming Brooks plays, what's his snap here? I assume it'll be low, right? I'd assume 3 to 5 to 4 to 6 carries, and then I'm telling you, you're going to see him on either a couple screens, a little wheel route, little swing route. That's my guess, Yellow. That'd be my guess. Dan mentioned using Jordan as a receiver this week. Talking Jordan Matthews, if that's the case, that makes sense. Because, like I said, after David Moore, there's nobody, right? And Jordan Matthews, while he's a tight end now, he wasn't always a tight end, and he's got the skill set. We saw it in preseason. I think he played almost every week. So yeah, Jordan Matthews, he has hands, and against the Giants, this makes sense because against the Giants, they're gonna have a strong front seven. They're gonna be bringing heat. So if you get somebody like Jordan Matthews, right, you get somebody who can run a 5-yard hitch, a 5-yard in with sure hands, which we saw in the preseason. It actually makes sense, Case, right? Not my first option, but it makes sense to get somebody who you know was going to catch it on a 5-yard hitch, on a 5-yard in. Is it given that Brooks eventually takes the job from Chuba? Yes and no, Chuck. And it's funny you say that, actually. Let me pull up something real quick before I dive into that. We touched on it a little bit earlier that what I see happening is kind of like the J. Stu D. Will days back in the mid 2000s, right? That's how I see this playing out, where Chuba's going to get the ball for that 2nd and 3, that 3rd and 3, that 2nd and 4, and then on 1st and 2nd down, right? Majority of the time, you're going to see Brooks, but 2nd and short, 3rd and short, you're going to see Chuba. That's my guess on that, Chuck. And Sanders is going to be phased out, unfortunately. He's I guess not unfortunately, but unfortunately for him, he's probably going to get phased out. Let's see, Miles Sanders. Because if you go back to the Broncos game, Miles Sanders had 7 receptions on 7 targets. Chuba only had 2, right? So against the Broncos, Miles had 7. Chuba only had 2 catches. And that's where I see Brooks basically coming in and basically replacing Miles Sanders in that aspect. It's going to be interesting, to say the least. The Giants, a solid defense. Offensively, not the best, but, we are the same record, so we'll see what happens there. The last game they played, they lost to the Commanders by 5. The Commanders did us nasty, too, and that's with the backup. Jaden Daniels, 15 for 22 on them. The running backs did decent, actually. Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez. So maybe the run game will be effective. You know, it looks like Washington receiving. Noah Brown went off. Interesting. That's the guy who went off for the Commanders, Noah Brown. 6'2", 225. I don't know. Maybe the Panthers receivers actually do some damage. We're about to wrap this thing up real quick. Got some things I got to do. We're going to wrap it up in a few minutes. Get any comments and you guys want to get in. My score prediction probably going to be, let's do this. Let's do 20. Damn. Oh, that one's tough. We'll do 27-17 Panthers. 27-17 Panthers. And I think Bryce Young hits 225 and he throws 2 touchdowns. That's my prediction. Let me know what you guys think on that. After seeing what the Commanders did, I think we'll have some success running the ball. I'm excited to see Jonathan Brooks. I think Jaden Peavy, somebody we haven't talked about yet, but that 6th-round rookie, I think we're going to see him. We might see him make a play or two, or at least cause havoc. I'm excited to see him because I'm pretty sure he played in the preseason too. So let me know score predictions or anything you guys got. May do a video tomorrow, may not. We'll see what happens. Tax said, is Brooks expected to play this week? Yes, he is expected to play. How much is he going to play? We'll see what happens. Obviously, first game coming back off an ACL tear. They got to be careful. They got to be careful with Brooks. And, you know, we're 2-7, so I'm not really in a rush to get him back anyway. If we win this week, we go into our bye, right? So, yeah, if we win this week, we go into our bye week. And then it's against the Kansas City Chiefs. So, win this week, get a bye, and then the next week is the Chiefs. And that whole schedule that we play after the bye week is just insane. And we're going to get tested. And we're going to see what we're about. So, Dark said 160, 1 interception. Okay. Ryan's believing in the Panthers. Okay. Only if Chuba gets 100 yards or more. Lee, I don't think it'll matter. The season's over. Yeah, I just want to see what we have left, Lee. I get you, though. I get you. If Chuba eats, we winning. I hope so on that. Oh, Lord. Let's go. What about Thielen? Is he expected to play? Nah, Dark. Mahomes. No, I won't go into Mahomes. But no, he's not injured. No. What about Thielen? Is he expected? Thielen, he's still questionable. I hope he comes back. If he comes back, I like our chances a lot more. But Thielen's still questionable. That's what came out on the injury report today. So we'll see what happens there. That being said, it's going to wrap it up. I'll catch you guys on the next one. May do another stream a little bit later this week, maybe Saturday or something. Stay tuned. I'll catch you guys then. I appreciate all the support as always. Catch you guys later.